So the Sonic Heroes review is going to take a bit to record, mostly because I have 4 playthroughs that I'm going to have to do just before the final story, and that game's controls are just clunky as hell. I thought in the meantime, I could easily put out a different Sonic review. I decided the best thing I could easily review and get out in time was the Sonic OVA from the 90s. I say this, having recording this on a Saturday, despite the fact that I usually try and get these reviews up on Thursdays. Anyway, this is technically the first full Sonic movie, not counting one of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog VHSs, which I think was just 3 episodes cobbled together into a movie. But yeah, this was the first movie, not the 2020 movie that Paramount released right before the pandemic hit. Which, funnily enough, I actually saw right before the pandemic hit. That was an experience. Anyway, let's get on to the actual review. Before we talk about the OVA itself, I do want to bring this up. Now, at some point, this OVA, or original video animation as it's usually referred to, was intended to be a full series. And for the people who don't know what an OVA is, essentially think a direct-to-video anime movie or special, usually about half hour to an hour long. With that out of the way, let's move on to the actual plot. Now, personally, I'm not entirely sure where this OVA would take place, but I want to say around the time after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and before, say, Sonic Adventure. That being said, Dr. Robotnik, and I am going to call him Robotnik here because this is based off of the Genesis series, plans to finally take down his arch-enemy Sonic. All he needs is the biological data for Sonic to power his greatest creation, Metal Sonic. Sonic in the meantime is sort of just chilling out in his house, plane, thing. I know he lives here, but I wish I knew exactly what this place is. Looks mostly like it's made out of a crashed plane and several other things. Hell, looking up stuff for this review, apparently part of it is comprised of the USS Enterprise, and I don't even want to begin to know how that works. Still cool, so I gotta give him that. This place is South Island, where Sonic canonically lives in most continuities. In the meantime, Tails, who I guess just lives with Sonic, it's never really explained, is testing out a jet-propelled bodyboard, before noticing an old owl about to crash into the cliffside. Funnily enough, this owl is just known as Old Man Owl, and in the anime itself, they just refer to him as Old Man. He doesn't even really have a name. Once Sonic saves both the owl and Tails from crashing into the cliffside, the owl tells him that the president wants Sonic to come to his office. Once heading to the president's house, they find Dr. Ivo Robotnik in the president's chair sitting at his desk. So I guess that means he's the president? I don't remember voting for him, but at the same time, I'm not really upset. But seriously, Robotnik has taken the president and his daughter Sarah prisoner. Though, hilariously enough, they never really act like prisoners. Later we see Robotnik just playing a fighting game with Sarah, and they really seem more like this is a minor inconvenience as opposed to, kidnapping the fucking president. Hell, The president himself acts like it's business as usual outside of the one scene of them begging for Sonic to help them. Anyway, after giving an exposition on how Planet Freedom works, explaining that there are two dimensions of the planet, the land of the sky and the land of darkness, which doesn't really make sense, and as far as I know is a translation error. Anyway, Robotnik explains that a giant mecha named Metal Robotnik has exiled him from his utopian city of Robotropolis, and has sabotaged the robot generator, which will explode by sunrise the next day. It's funny to me that the OVA makes up its own lore, considering they easily could have said that this was a version of the Death Egg robot that gained sentience and went rogue. Not that that really means much, considering he is lying to trick Sonic and is still in full control of this robot, but I just wanted to bring that up. Robotnik asks Sonic to head to the Land of Darkness to stop the machine from blowing, in exchange for the President's and Sarah's lives. Hilariously, Sonic actually brings up the fact that this is most likely a trap, going so far as to say,
"Someone tell me why I should trust Robotnik when 99 out of 100 times he's lying."
He does still go through with it, most likely because of Sarah, I guess. Plus, he is the fastest thing alive, so it's not like there's really a better option. Once in the Land of Darkness, Metal Robotnik tries to stop them from reaching the generator, with it using all kinds of attacks, including shooting a weird glue-like substance out of its ass. I don't know how to respond to that. Knuckles arrives and rescues them after Tails gets stuck in some glue and Sonic almost drowns. Sonic ends up using his spin attack to cut off Metal Robotnik's hand before the three of them work together to launch Sonic clean through the mech. After a little conversation with Knuckles, Sonic and Tails notice a large amusement city in the far distance, which can only be Robotropolis, with Knuckles now joining them. Unbeknownst to them, Metal Robotnik is revealed to have been controlled by Robotnik, with Sarah unwittingly in tow. I'm wondering how Sonic didn't see them, as he was shot through the mech, but I'm gonna guess he was going too fast to notice them. This is also where the first part would have originally ended, with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all heading to Robotropolis as the song Look Like plays in the background. Yeah, in Japan, this movie was split into 2 episodes, both about half an hour each. Not really important to the review, but wanted to bring that up just to mention it. I thought it was a cool fact. After entering Robotropolis, Knuckles distracts the enemy robots while Sonic and Tails try to stop the generator in the heart of the city. Arriving just in time, Sonic pulls the lever before the machine traps him and scans his body. You would think they would have seen this coming, but to be fair, Sonic did see this coming, but went along with it anyway. Knuckles is able to free Sonic just as the machine crumbles to the ground, revealing Dr. Robotnik's newest robot, Hyper Metal Sonic. I mean, honestly, he just looks like Metal Sonic normally does, but I guess he technically is stronger or something. It's weird. Dr. Robotnik appears in Metal Robotnik's remains, which is a scene that always makes me chuckle, as multiple egg robos are lifting the destroyed mech up, with Tails thinking it's a ghost or something. He reveals he lured Sonic to copy his mind, personality, and abilities for Hyper Metal Sonic. Funnily enough, copying abilities is something that Metal Sonic does in Sonic Heroes, so I wonder if they got the idea from here. Hell, there are a few things here that feel like they took inspiration from it, especially as this OVA came out in 1996 in Japan during the development of Sonic Adventure. Telling his friends to stand back, Sonic engages Metal in a fight. Metal, however, proves to be a formidable foe, easily keeping up with Sonic's speed, while Sonic struggles to avoid Metal's attacks. As the battle proceeds far above Robotropolis, Sonic and Metal end up on the top of a mountain. However, Sonic loses sight of Metal before he appears out of nowhere and kicks Sonic off the mountain and down to the valley below. With that, Robotnik assumes that Sonic is now dead and heads for the land of the sky with Metal. You'd think he'd confirm this, considering Sonic is his archenemy, but I guess he has better things to do. Meanwhile, Tails and Knuckles decide to head back to South Island, probably to get the hell out of Dodge, considering Metal Sonic is much more powerful now than he ever was in Sonic CD. Does make me wonder if Knuckles Chaotix is canon to this, but I'm pretty sure that would require Sega remembering Knuckles Chaotix exists. As morning dawns, Sonic wakes up in a forest where he gets a vision of Metal Sonic on a rampage, prompting him to set off to stop them. Wonder how he got this vision, but at the same time, this franchise is really fucking weird, so I'll just forgive it for now and get back to the story. Upon getting back home, Tails and Knuckles find Old Man Owl in Sonic's favorite clothes. Something I don't think has ever been in anything after this, and I don't think we see Sonic wear anything like this. There are mods in multiple games that do make it the skin for Sonic, which is nice. I just kinda wish that this was official. Hell, I'm pretty sure that even in this universe, Sonic doesn't actually wear them. He just has them because he thinks they look cool. The Owl states that he was forced to wear these clothes by Metal, whom he confuses for Sonic. Dude really should get his eyes checked, or at the very least get better glasses, because I'm surprised he's able to see anything out of those. Tails, having the idea to modify the Navigator to use against Metal, since they both have same mechanical parts, gets to work. He also assures Knuckles that they don't have to worry about Metal and Sonic not being in the same place, since Metal was programmed with Sonic's data. The two of them share an identical thought pattern, meaning they can predict each other's accents. I can't begin to understand how that would work. I'm kind of wondering if it's a translation error, but again, I'm just gonna roll with it. Like I said, this series is fucking weird. Back at the capital, the president is receiving damage reports from around the land of the sky, many of which showing a character rampaging through the cities. Mistakenly, the president identifies the character as Sonic and tries to contact him, managing only to tick off Knuckles, who was fixing the tornado. Didn't know he was a mechanic, but considering the hat he's wearing gives him the ability to fly, I guess it also gives him the ability to fix up airplanes, despite not ever actually needing to use one. After filling the president in with all the details, Knuckles says that if Metal wanted to destroy the land of the sky, he should go blow up the glacial bridge at the North Pole, which keeps the land of the sky's continents connected. If Metal can make one of the local magma veins rush to the surface, it would melt all the ice, causing the continents to separate. Somehow, this will cause the continents to hurtle into space, destroying all of civilization. Sonic, having been in the same room as the president, says he heard Knuckles' entire story, and quickly gets going, with Tails and Knuckles going after him to help stop Metal. The president, on the other hand, continues to be almost completely useless. Meanwhile, in the sky, Robotnik and Sarah are riding Robotnik's hovercraft and watching Metal's rampage. The Doctor then reveals that he plans for them to get married after destroying the land of the sky, thereby leaving only the two of them to rule Planet Freedom. Needless to say, Sarah does not take kindly to Robotnik's idea. I mean, look at those baby Eggmen. It's... Ew. Regardless, Robotnik takes both of them to the North Pole through a warp zone. Meanwhile, on the North Pole, Metal has already managed to make magma erupt precariously close to the glacier's ice bridge. Sonic quickly goes to stop Metal, and the two have a long fight. which has the line that is probably more popular than the OVA itself.
I found you, Faker!
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh? You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words!
Ah, so that's where that clip went. Talk about a callback. As Robotnik and Sarah warp to the North Pole in a haphazard way, Sonic and Metal crash into the Eggmobile, with Sonic making a fairly painful landing. That's definitely gonna hurt in the morning. Tails, piloting the tornado, also arrives to help Sonic, but gets shot down by one of Robotnik's egg missiles. Knuckles, after saving Sarah from falling from the Eggmobile, successfully redirects the flow of magma away from the ice bridge by digging tunnels underneath it upon Sarah's flirtatious request. When did this movie suddenly get horny? Anyway, Sonic and Metal continue to clash violently, eventually leading to Sonic getting worn out, allowing Metal to gain the upper hand. However, Tails is able to corrupt Metal's data with the modified Navigator, allowing Sonic to do serious damage to Metal with a rapid spin dash. The group then notices the President and Old Man Owl arriving in an airship which crashes into the ice bridge, leaving the President and the Owl trapped inside. As Sonic and Tails try to save the President and the Owl before the ship explodes, a heavily damaged Metal returns and attacks the duo. You know, I am starting to wonder how this Owl ever got his pilot's license, with how just legally blind he is. Tails tries to use the Navigator against Metal again, before Robotnik shoots it off his wrist, leaving Sonic to fight Metal again. This time around, Metal has accumulated too much damage, and Sonic is able to overpower him. However, Sonic is too late to save the President and Old Man Owl from their ship before it explodes. I'd be more upset, but it's not like the President really did anything in the story, so I guess that's actually fairly accurate to real life. In a twist of fate, Metal saves both of them from the ashes of the aircraft, and Sonic realizes that Metal does have emotions, as he was programmed with his personality and thoughts. Plus, I'm sure at least some of Tails trying to reprogram him did something. Metal unfortunately gets knocked into a subglacial volcano by debris, where Sonic tries to save him by lowering himself down and getting Metal to grab his hand to pull him out. However, Metal pushes Sonic's hand away and tells him that
there is only one Sonic.
before he is destroyed by the rising magma, much to Sonic's dismay. How tragic. I'm sure Metal will never come back. After the incident, the group watches the ice bridge, which has been saved from destruction, though Sonic is more focused on Metal's death. As Tails and Sarah try to cheer Sonic up, Robotnik arrives, noting that he still has Sonic's data on a small compact disc, and reveals his plans to create an even stronger Metal Sonic. Unfortunately for Robotnik, his design-faulty missile blows up the CD, thwarting his plans. After that, Knuckles hits Sonic on the head as payback for stepping on his head during the fight with Metal, and the two chase each other off. The whole cast is then seen following Sonic before Sonic races off into the sunset, with the title of the movie showing before credits roll. And that is the Sonic OVA. I think the first time I knew of this movie was about a decade ago when I was watching a random Sonic AMV and saw a clip of it. For those wondering, AMV is anime music video, usually using clips of anime and other things. While I don't remember the music video that I would have watched, I do remember the clip got me curious enough to look into this Sonic anime. Though, the first time I watched it, I wasn't a big fan of it, mostly because the voice acting sounded odd to me. Tails sounded congested, and for some reason I just couldn't vibe with Sonic's voice. It wasn't until I saw the movie again with BrainScratch.com's commentary of the film that I turned around on it and began to enjoy it. Frankly, before the 2020 live-action film came out, this was my favorite interpretation of these characters, and I feel it still holds up. While the movie is still closer to the Genesis classics, it feels like watching a watchable Sonic game. I do kind of wonder what it would have been like if this was a full Sonic anime like was originally intended. That being said, this is still an enjoyable watch, and I've seen it uploaded to YouTube a lot, and I'll even have it linked below in case you want to give it a watch. As for next time, I might need a few heroes to help me with the next game. Pray for me, folks. It's gonna be a bit of a trip.